There are two ways to go through retirement. You can either be a spectator or you can be a player. Think of a football game. There's 22 players on the field, right?
So impressed you got that right.
I looked it up.
Not going to lie. These 22 players and their teammates all excel at the sport. You know, they practice together, they have routines and healthy habits together, and they hang out with other successful players.
On the other hand, the spectators, they're either watching the game from the stands or in a bar or at home on the couch. The spectators don't do what's needed to play the game.
And you know, over time, spectator retirees lose their drive to live, lose their key relationships, and pick up super unhealthy habits.
So today, we're going to show you how to win and be the best retiree ever. We want you to join our team. I just thought of that.
As a player,
we're creating
retiree,
a team as a player. We want to bring you in. We want you to be a player like we are. And you don't need to be the star quarterback like Jody is, but you should try and get on the team.
Why
right?
did you say that?
Because you're the star quarterback.
Okay.
First female quarterback ever in the retiree world of Retirement Transformed.
So let's look at what players do to win at retirement. The first and foremost thing they do is they encompass healthy habits.
Right. And it starts with proper nutrition. Eliminate junk food. Listen, I've eliminated Oreos from my diet. How about that?
Wow, that's a bold
Eliminate
statement.
junk food. And, you know, we work with a nutritionist. Now we do some stuff online, but you can get a lot of information online to figure out how to eat better.
So players watch their nutrition. Second thing they do is physical exercise. Even 20 minutes of walking every day can extend your life. Think about that. It's a small investment. 20 minutes. You can get out, you can walk, you could play pickleball, you could go to a dance studio, you could do yoga, you could ride your bike. 20 minutes every day.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It's not a lot.
It's not like being on an NFL team. You don't have to work out all day long, but you do need to work out. You need to make it part of your healthy habits.
Moving your body.
And the other thing that successful player retirees do is they start getting into mindfulness, meditation and journaling. And that is something that, I think I've been meditating for probably 8 years now. But if you asked me the day before I started, would I ever meditate? What would my answer be?
No, there's no way.
There's no way.
But you know what's super cool is even in the NFL, or certainly last year during the Heisman Trophy series, I don't know if you remember this, but as there was build up to Heisman Trophy, one of the top candidates actually had all of his journaling entries on the inside of his jacket. And that was kind of his spiritual meditation and journaling that he had done the whole season. And I don't think he won the Heisman, but he came in second, which was kind of cool. So a lot of athletes, a lot of top-minded people, a lot of business people, a lot of successful people, a lot of people are meditating and journaling. It's nothing to put in the corner anymore.
It's becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
And, I think that kids should start learning how to meditate in kindergarten. That's my opinion.
Right.
Routines. The other thing that successful retiree players do is they've got routines. Daily, weekly, monthly. We do that. And when we don't, and we get off the track a little bit, we feel it. We can feel, we get sad, we get lonely. It's not that big of a deal to make some routines, but some people say in retirement, we don't need to have routines.
It's funny. We met a woman last night in Naples, a very successful CFO.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking about retiring, looking at a couple years out, and her main questions were around daily, weekly, and monthly routines. She's so afraid to let go of her career because she doesn't know what her routines are going to look like. And we spent such a long time talking to her about it, getting her comfortable with the fact that routines are okay in retirement as a player.
So what do spectators do? Spectators stand by and watch the players do what they need to do. But if you're just watching and you're not participating, then you're going to find yourself with unhealthy habits. Just really the opposite. Nutrition, you're just going to eat poorly because you're not thinking about it. You're not thinking it makes a difference.
Well, you're going to, maybe eat like you used to eat, right? And we can be right there with you. Huge meals, lots of red meat, lots of late dinners, a bit of junk food still in our cabinets, especially when the kids were little. Now, if someone were to open our cabinets and we have junk food in there, there's no hiding behind the fact that, well, those are for the kids. There are no kids.
No.
So if the junk food's in there,
Right.
I wonder who it's for.
How come the finger, I can see it out of the corner of my eye, so it's not necessary. But the other thing that spectators do, they live a sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
Do you know that the average number of hours that people over 65 watch TV is 40 hours? That's like a full-time job. And the other thing that leads to a sedentary lifestyle is being addicted to social media.
Right.
Whether you do it in bed at night before you go to bed or first thing in the morning, or you just sit on the couch, before you know it watching TikTok, you're an hour in.
Right.
So that, there's room for social media, but not that much room.
Right. Another area that spectators do is they tend to get a little excessive with alcohol. And I know we talk about alcohol quite a bit, and we don't tell you not to drink or have a drink. It's your call. But try moderation. As you get older, your body metabolizes alcohol differently. It's a fact.
And we're sensitive to excessive alcohol because both of our dads were alcoholics.
Right.
And that's
us. That's our story.
Yeah. The other thing is, if you're a smoker and you don't exercise and you're not journaling and you're not doing meditation, you have poor nutrition, all of that leads to poor sleep. And poor sleep is probably the worst thing for you right now is to get, not enough sleep at this age of your life.
Absolutely. So, to think about it, spectators have no routines to drive healthy habits. They wait and see what the day brings, and what if they just didn't decide to do anything? And if you think about it, what if your favorite athletes or your favorite CEOs or your favorite retiree did that?
Yeah.
What if those players did that? It wouldn't make the game very interesting.
So let's shift the conversation to relationships because we talk about this a lot because it's critical to a healthy lifestyle. Here's what players in retirement do. They are always seeking new communities. And we're doing that, and our clients do that, and our friends do that. But you've got to get out there and find new groups, whether it's faith-based or sports or common interests. I mean, down here there's bird watching, photography, kayaking. There's groups that are into the water. What am I calling that? The
ecological.
Yeah. There's so many different
Turtles.
groups down here.
Yeah.
Turtles. Yeah.
Turtles, because the turtles have a hatching season
Yeah.
down here. There's a lot of.
There's turtle
to
people.
me like turtles were
Well,
like
where turtles come
foreign.
from? I like turtles. Anyway, so what else do they re-engage? So relationship for the players, they re-engage with old work friends and
Right.
clients because basically when you retire, they stay behind.
And you have to be intentional about that because
Right.
your old work friends and clients are still maybe working and doing business.
Right.
So it's on you to be intentional about that.
Right. They volunteer. When you volunteer and you join an organization, you have an instant community and you feel needed.
And sometimes it's that common thread too, whether it's a sickness, a disease, or an illness, or whether it's a scope, to work with children or, the
Right.
hungry or women or men or whatever it is. You have that common thread
And
that gets there as well.
we just started this new project called Drinks in the Driveway. So we live in this great neighborhood on Marco, and we just stuffed everyone's mailbox with our name, address, cell phone, email, and said, we want to host a Drinks in the Driveway at the end of January. Please email us or text us with your contact information, and we'll invite you, and we'll just have a bring your own booze, bring your own food gathering to get to meet our neighbors better. So our next newest best friend could be living 5 houses away. We don't even know.
Yeah.
So-
The idea really is that players have an ever-expanding social network. Spectators in retirement don't fare as well.
Right.
A lot of them leave their work friends behind, and that creates a huge void in their network because they hadn't built another network outside of that.
Right. And they hang with the wrong people. And when I say the wrong people, if you're a spectator and you hang out with other spectators, that's your social network. That's your bar. And it's hard to change your life when all of your friends are spectators and they're not players. So we would suggest you find at least one or two players to hang out with to up your game a little bit because, the spectators really aren't looking to expand the social network. But what happens over time,
Right.
particularly if you move, which we've done a few times, as you get older, people will start to die and disappear. My dad had a list of friends, his core friends, and as they all passed away, he
Oh,
crossed
that was
out their
sad.
name. It was sad.
It was really sad. When you take this guarded approach to new relationship, your circle does continue to get smaller until it disappears and then you're lonely. And that's super dangerous for a retiree.
Right. So the other one is mindset. which is, I believe, the driving force behind success in retirement.
So successful players have
The right kind
the
of
right
mindset.
kind of mindset.
Spectators are reactive, and they watch from the sidelines or the couch, but the players are proactive and really, really crush it.
And really,
But-
if you think about it, they're proactive in each one of the pillars we talk about, right? Health and wellness, mental health and wellness,
Right.
relationships, being proactive,
Right.
proactive with volunteering, proactive with your spouse partner
Yeah.
communication.
And we're not judging anyone here.
No.
But spectators with a reactive mindset, they settle for less, they're okay with the status quo, they lack a drive of ambition.
And sometimes we hear from them as they come to us looking to turn the corner that they're living a life of regrets and they're starting to run out of time. Constantly coming up short, never feeling fulfilled, and really lacking purpose.
And maybe a poor me attitude. They feel like the victim. So it doesn't have to be like that.
Right.
To summarize this, spectators, I think, would love to get in the game of retirement, and have a more successful retirement. But maybe what's missing is a little bit of drive and ambition. And really, it just takes you taking the first step, like leaving your house to walk for 20 minutes. Go 10 minutes one way and 10 minutes back.
Really,
But-
we're talking about two things with players, if you think about it. We're talking about having an intentional mindset and being proactive, right?
And-
Chasing your dreams
Yeah.
and putting a plan and action into place.
Yeah, and they embrace change, are not afraid to fail. They explore new things. They'll almost try anything. They really take advantage of this time affluence that comes to us. We get these 40 plus hours of free time that come our way from the work world, and now we have all this free time in retirement.
Yeah, because players are really lifelong learners, right? They're reading books, they're looking at higher education, they're taking online courses, they're engaging with community colleges. They're really trying hard to share their knowledge and wisdom and grow as a person continuously.
Yeah, and players wake up every day and they choose happiness. They excel in retirement because they do all the right things that we just talked about.
Right. If you're a player, then congratulations. Become a leader and share what you're doing with all of your circles of friends.
And if you think you're a spectator, you don't have to stay that way. As we said earlier, find some new friends that are players and doing really well in retirement and train with them. Do what they're doing. Now, if you like this video, you're really going to like this one about time affluence. I mentioned that earlier. We share with you in this video 4 strategies on how to use this most valuable asset in your retirement.